The room was shrouded in darkness, save for the sliver of moonlight that snuck through the gap in the curtains. It cast long, somber shadows across the room, mirroring the turmoil within my heart. My name is Anna, and as I lay next to Thomas, the weight of my secrets pressed down on me like a physical burden. The silence between us was a stark contrast to the chaos of my thoughts. I knew I had to confess, to release the truth that threatened to consume me. Thomas, my voice barely rose above a whisper, trembling with the fear of the unknown. There's something I need to tell you. He turned towards me, his face etched with concern. What's wrong, Anna? You've been distant lately. The concern in his voice pierced through me. How could I have betrayed someone so kind, so undeserving of the pain I was about to inflict? It's not easy to say this, I started, my words faltering as I struggled to find the courage. I've been unfaithful. The room fell silent, the gravity of my confession hanging heavily between us. Thomas's face, once open and trusting, closed off as he processed my words. How long? His voice was steady, but the hurt behind it was palpable. Too long, I admitted, the shame burning my cheeks. It wasn't because of you. It's me, my own failings. I'm so sorry, Thomas. He sat up, distancing himself from me as if my betrayal was a physical force pushing him away. Do you love him? Thomas's question was a dagger to my heart. There is no him, Thomas. It was never about love. It was an addiction, a mistake. I'm so sorry. The room was silent again, the tension thick in the air. Thomas got up, pacing the room as he tried to come to terms with my betrayal. I watched him, a part of me wanting to reach out, to beg for his forgiveness, but knowing I had no right. Lucy, he said suddenly, stopping in his tracks. Does she know? The question caught me off guard. Lucy, our daughter, the innocent caught in the crossfire of my mistakes. No, she doesn't. Please, Thomas, I'll do anything to make this right. Thomas looked at me, his eyes a mix of sadness and resolve. I need some time, Anna. To think, to decide what comes next. As he left the room, the finality of his words sunk in. I was left alone, the silence now a suffocating presence. My confession had set us on a path from which there was no return. The future, once so certain, was now a dark, unknown landscape. The days that followed my confession were a blur of awkward silences and unspoken questions. Thomas moved through our home like a ghost, his presence a constant reminder of the pain I had caused. It was during this time of uneasy coexistence that our world was turned upside down once more, this time by our daughter, Lucy. I had just returned from a fruitless attempt to clear my head with a walk around the neighborhood when I found Thomas and Lucy in the living room. The air was thick with tension, and the moment I stepped in, I knew something was terribly wrong. Lucy, usually so vibrant, sat with her arms crossed, her expression a mix of anger and disappointment. Thomas held his phone in his hand, his face unreadable. Mom, care to explain this? Lucy's voice was cold, her eyes fixed on me as she gestured towards the phone Thomas was holding. I felt a knot form in my stomach. Lucy, what's going on? Thomas finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. She knows, Anna. Lucy knows everything. Confusion gave way to horror as I realized the implications. How? How did you find out? Lucy's anger bubbled to the surface. I skipped school, went back home to grab my project, and then I saw you. With him. Her words were like a slap in the face. I recorded it. I wanted evidence. The room seemed to spin as her words sank in. My secret, once confined to the shadows, was now out in the open, exposed in the most painful way possible. Thomas handed me the phone, and I watched the video, my heart sinking with each passing second. It was undeniable proof of my betrayal, a visual reminder of the moment my family's world was shattered. Why, Mom? Why would you do this to us? To Dad. Lucy's voice cracked, her tears a testament to the hurt I had caused. I looked from Lucy to Thomas, my heart breaking at the sight of their pain. I don't know, Lucy. I'm so sorry. It was selfish, and I never meant to hurt you or your dad. Thomas took a deep breath, his decision clear. Lucy, go pack some things. You're staying with your grandparents for a while. Lucy nodded, wiping away her tears as she left the room, leaving Thomas and me in a suffocating silence. Thomas, please, we can fix this. We can get through it, I pleaded, my voice barely a whisper. Thomas shook his head, the finality in his voice leaving no room for doubt. I don't know if we can, Anna. I don't know if I want to. As he walked away, the magnitude of my actions hit me. My family, once my sanctuary, was now a broken shell of its former self, all because of my choices. The unraveling had begun, and there was no turning back. The days turned into weeks, each one stretching longer than the last. The atmosphere in our home was suffocating, a constant reminder of the chasm my actions had created. Thomas had retreated into himself, a fortress of solitude and silence, while Lucy's absence was a gaping wound, a daily reminder of the cost of my betrayal. It was in this state of limbo that I decided to confront the other man involved, Michael. I needed answers, closure, perhaps a way to understand why I had allowed myself to be drawn into this destructive orbit. I reached out, and he agreed to meet at a secluded cafe, away from prying eyes. Sitting across from Michael, the reality of my situation settled in. Here was the man who had been a catalyst for the unraveling of my family, yet I couldn't absolve myself of blame. I had been a willing participant after all. Why did we do this, Michael? What was all this for? My voice was steady, but inside, I was anything but. Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know, Anna. I guess we were both looking for something. Maybe an escape from our realities? An escape that cost me my family, I countered, the bitterness in my voice surprising even me. He nodded, a look of regret passing over his face. I know, and I'm sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. I shook my head, the reality of our situation sinking in. Sorry doesn't change anything. It doesn't fix the pain we've caused. There was a long silence, filled with the weight of unspoken words and regret. Finally, I spoke again, my decision clear. I need to fix this, Michael. I need to try and make things right with my family. He looked at me, understanding in his eyes. I know, and I'll stay away, for good this time. I hope you can find a way to heal the wounds I've helped cause. Leaving the cafe, I felt a mix of emotions. The confrontation hadn't provided the closure I had hoped for, but it had given me a resolve. I needed to face the consequences of my actions to try and mend the broken pieces of my family. Arriving home, I found Thomas in the living room, his expression unreadable. Taking a deep breath, I prepared myself for another confrontation, this time with the man whose life I had turned upside down. Thomas, we need to talk, I began, my voice stronger than I felt. He looked up, the pain in his eyes a stark reminder of the damage I had caused. What's there to talk about, Anna? You've made your choices. I met with Michael. It's over for good. I want to fix this, Thomas. I want to try and make things right, if you'll let me. Thomas' response was measured, the hurt still evident in his voice. I don't know if I can, Anna. You've broken something fundamental between us. I know, and I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes, Thomas. I'll go to counseling. We can go together. I'll do anything. He sighed, a weary sound that seemed to carry the weight of the world. I need time, Anna. I can't just forgive and forget. This isn't something that can be fixed overnight. I nodded, understanding the long road ahead. I know. I'm not asking for immediate forgiveness. I just want the chance to try. Thomas didn't respond, and I left him with his thoughts, knowing that the path to redemption would be a long and difficult one. The confrontation had laid bare the reality of our situation, but it had also provided a glimmer of hope, however faint. The journey to healing had begun, but where it would lead, only time would tell. The days following my confrontation with Michael were some of the most challenging I had ever faced. The house felt more like a mausoleum than a home, each room echoing with the ghosts of our happier past. Thomas and I coexisted in a tense silence, a testament to the chasm my betrayal had created between us. One evening, as I sat alone in the kitchen, lost in thoughts of what could have been, Thomas entered, his face a mask of stoic resignation. The air between us crackled with unspoken recriminations and the weight of our shared sorrow. "Anna," Thomas began, his voice breaking the heavy silence, "we need to figure out where we go from here." I looked up, meeting his gaze. The pain I saw there was a mirror of my own. "I know. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Thomas. I want to make this right." He sighed, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration and fatigue. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about trying to fix things. And I don't know if I can find it in me to trust you again. It's not just about us, it's about Lucy too. She's been hurt the most in all of this." The mention of our daughter was a sharp stab of reality. Lucy, our bright, vibrant girl, had been caught in the crossfire of my selfishness. "I know, and I hate that I've put her through this. I've been thinking about reaching out to her, trying to explain, to apologize." Thomas's expression hardened. "I'm not sure that's a good idea, Anna. She's barely speaking to me as it is. What happened? It's shattered her world. She needs time, just like I do." The finality in his voice was a clear indication of the depth of the rift my actions had caused. "I understand," I replied, feeling the weight of my isolation more acutely than ever. "I just wished there was something I could do to make this right." "We both know it's not that simple," Thomas said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "I've been looking into counseling, for both of us and for Lucy. Maybe it's a start." Hope, fragile and tentative, flickered within me at his words. "Yes, please. I think that's a good idea. Whatever it takes, Thomas. I'm here, and I'm not giving up on us." He nodded, the ghost of our old connection visible for a fleeting moment. "I'll make the arrangements. But Anna, this doesn't mean. I'm not making any promises. We have a long road ahead." "I know," I said, the reality of our situation settling around me like a shroud. "Thank you for being willing to try." As Thomas left the room, I was left to ponder the enormity of the task ahead. The fallout from my betrayal was more extensive than I had ever imagined, affecting not just my relationship with Thomas, but with Lucy as well. The road to redemption would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the sake of my family, I was determined to walk it, no matter how difficult it might be. The weeks that followed were a testament to the fragility of hope and the arduous path of reconciliation. We had begun counseling, a process that peeled back layers of hurt and mistrust, exposing raw wounds that needed healing. It was during one of these sessions that the true test of our resolve to mend our fractured family would emerge. Dr. Ellis, our counselor, had a way of navigating through our defenses, guiding us toward the uncomfortable truths we had been avoiding. It was midway through one particularly tense session that she posed a question that hung in the air like a challenge. "Thomas, Anna has expressed her commitment to rebuilding this relationship and your family. Do you believe this is possible, and more importantly, are you prepared to put in the work required, knowing there are no guarantees?" Thomas's gaze met mine, a storm of emotions playing across his face. After a moment, he turned back to Dr. Ellis. "I want to believe it's possible, but it's hard. Every time I look at her, I'm reminded of the betrayal. How do I move past that?" Dr. Ellis nodded, acknowledging his pain. "It's a process, Thomas. One that requires time, forgiveness, and a willingness to rebuild trust. Anna, how do you respond to Thomas's feelings?" I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "I understand his pain because I feel it too. The guilt and the regret are with me every moment. I know I can't change the past, but I'm committed to doing everything I can to rebuild what I've broken. I just need him to believe in me, in us." Thomas was silent for a long moment before responding. "I want to believe in us, Anna, but it's like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, and I'm not sure if I can make the jump." "It's not about making the jump alone, Thomas," Dr. Ellis interjected gently. It's about whether you're both willing to take that leap together, knowing that you'll have to build your wings on the way down. The session ended with no clear resolution, but the analogy stayed with us, a poignant reminder of the leap of faith required to salvage the remnants of our relationship. The days that followed were a mix of tentative steps forward and painful reminders of the distance still between us. It was during a quiet evening at home, the tension between us like a tangible presence, that Thomas finally broke the silence. "Anna, do you ever think about, what if we can't make this work?" His question caught me off guard, the fear of losing everything we had been fighting for suddenly overwhelming. "Every day," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But then I remember what we're fighting for. I remember the love we had, the family we built, and I can't help but believe it's worth fighting for." Thomas reached for my hand, a gesture so familiar yet so distant in our recent past. "I'm scared, Anna. Scared of being hurt again, scared of the future." "I am too," I confessed, squeezing his hand in reassurance. "But I'm more scared of a future without you, without our family. We're being tested, Thomas, but I believe we can pass this test. Together." For the first time in months, I saw a flicker of the man I had fallen in love with, a hint of a smile touching his lips. "Together," he echoed, the word a fragile vow between us. The test we faced was daunting, a trial by fire that threatened to consume us. Yet, in that moment, holding on to each other, we found the strength to face it together, united by a shared hope for a future rebuilt from the ashes of our past. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere in our home began to shift, ever so slightly, from one of tension and uncertainty to something that, while not yet comfortable, suggested the possibility of healing. It was during an unexpectedly warm evening in early spring that the revelation which would come to define the next phase of our journey unfolded. Thomas and I were sitting on the back porch, a space that had once been a sanctuary for us, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. We had been talking, really talking, for the first time in what felt like forever, about everything and nothing at all. It was then that Thomas turned to me, a seriousness overtaking his features. "Anna, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, something I've been carrying with me these past few months," he began, his voice steady, but laced with an undercurrent of nervous energy. I turned to face him, my heart catching in my throat. "What is it, Thomas?" He took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "I've been struggling, not just with what happened, but with my own feelings of inadequacy. When I found out about the affair, it wasn't just the betrayal that hurt, it was the realization that I had been so blind to our problems, to your unhappiness." I reached out, placing my hand over his. "Thomas, I." He shook his head, silencing me with a gentle squeeze of my hand. "Let me finish. I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of soul-searching, and I've come to realize that my reaction, my inability to see beyond my own hurt, it's been part of the problem. I've been holding on to this anger, this sense of betrayal, as a shield, but it's been keeping me from truly moving forward, from truly forgiving." The raw honesty in his words took my breath away. "Thomas, I had no idea you felt that way. I'm so sorry for the pain I've caused you, for everything." He turned to me then, his eyes meeting mine in a gaze that held within it the faintest glimmer of hope. "I know, Anna, and I forgive you. Not because it's easy, but because holding on to this pain is only holding us back. If we're going to move forward, if we're going to rebuild what we had, I need to let it go." Tears welled in my eyes, the magnitude of his forgiveness washing over me in waves. And I need to earn that forgiveness every day. Thank you, Thomas, for being brave enough to take this step. For us, for our family. He nodded, a weight visibly lifting from his shoulders. "It's not going to be easy, Anna. There are still going to be tough days, days when the doubt and the hurt creep back in. But I think, for the first time, I can see a future for us, a future where we come out of this stronger." I squeezed his hand, a vow forming between us in the quiet of the evening. Together, I whispered, the word a promise, a commitment to the hard work and the healing that lay ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world into twilight, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The revelation of Thomas's forgiveness, of his commitment to our future, was the first step on a long road to redemption. Together, we faced the uncertainty of what lay ahead, buoyed by the belief that though the journey would be fraught with challenges, we had taken the first, most crucial step toward reclaiming the love we thought we had lost. The days following Thomas' revelation were a testament to the complex nature of forgiveness and the painstaking process of rebuilding trust. We were navigating uncharted waters, each day presenting new challenges and opportunities for growth. It was in the quiet aftermath of our newfound understanding that we began to truly confront the depth of our wounds and the potential for healing. One evening, as we sat in the living room surrounded by the comforting familiarity of our home, Thomas broached a subject we had danced around but never fully addressed. "Anna, I've been thinking a lot about trust," he started, his voice steady but filled with an underlying tension. "Forgiving you was a necessary step, but rebuilding trust, that's something else entirely. It's like we're starting from scratch." I nodded, the weight of his words settling heavily between us. "I know, and I understand that my actions are the reason we're in this position. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes, for as long as it takes, to earn back your trust." Thomas looked at me, his expression a mix of hope and lingering doubt. "I want to believe that, Anna. I do. But sometimes I find myself waiting for the other shoe to drop, wondering if we're ever going to get back to a place where I don't have those doubts." The honesty of his admission stung, a stark reminder of the long road ahead. "I can't change the past, Thomas, but I can control my actions moving forward. I'm committed to being open, to sharing everything with you, no matter how small. Maybe over time, those doubts will start to fade." He sighed, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration and uncertainty. "I want that too, Anna. It's just hard, you know. Feeling like you're constantly on guard, trying to protect yourself from being hurt again." Reaching out, I took his hand in mine, seeking to bridge the gap his words had opened between us. "I can only imagine how hard it is for you, and I'm so sorry for being the cause of that pain. But I believe in us, Thomas. I believe in the love we have and the family we've built. We're worth fighting for, and I'm not giving up." Thomas met my gaze, his eyes searching mine for the sincerity in my words. After a moment, he nodded slowly, a tentative agreement to continue moving forward together. "I'm not giving up either, Anna. It's going to take time, and I can't promise it'll be easy, but I'm willing to try. For us, for our family." The conversation marked a turning point for us, a mutual acknowledgement of the challenges we faced and the commitment we were both willing to make to overcome them. The aftermath of betrayal and forgiveness was a landscape riddled with pitfalls and setbacks, but it was also fertile ground for growth and renewal. As we continued to navigate the complexities of our relationship in the weeks and months that followed, we did so with a newfound understanding of the fragility of trust and the strength of love. The road to recovery was long and fraught with challenges, but with each step we took together, we reaffirmed our commitment to rebuild what had been broken, to emerge from the aftermath not just intact, but stronger than before.